What's up guys, Pat here. You may know me from a gun channel that I run, Pat RMG. If you don't, you can go over there and check it out. I got all sorts of cool stuff. But here, we're going to start a new YouTube channel. I'm wanting to do stuff in the garage. I'm very mechanically minded. I used to be in HVAC. Now I'm kind of over in the social media world. So I really do miss wrenching on stuff. So basically what I've got here is going to be an awesome little vehicle. I'm going to turn this thing into exactly what I want. And I'm going to bring you guys along with me. So this is a 2002 Chevy Blazer. It's two-door, two-wheel drive. It had the 4.3 liter in it. The transmission has gone out of it. Or, well, at least that's their diagnosis. I was standing there with a buddy of mine, and he said, hey, man, he said, we're going to be selling this thing. My son knocked the transmission out of it. And I said, about what do you want? He says, $500-600. And I gave that thing the old good 12-foot inspection. I couldn't even be bothered to shuffle my feet. What I saw was a straight rust-free body that was all one color, and it is an excellent little starting project to make me a hot rod. I haven't had a hot rod in a few years, and I freaking miss it. So now let's go ahead and look this thing over. So this was as far as I was standing away from it when I struck up the deal. Literally 12-foot inspection. So now we've got a little tiny dent right there. That is the furthest pointing part of that bumper. I'd imagine that there are quite a few of them out there that have these dents. But as we go around, this thing doesn't appear to ever have been wrecked. Just nice and clean. Of course, the dash is going to need some work. This swoop back windshield, I remember when they came out with that in 1994. That swoop back windshield just left this thing subject to a whole bunch of UV. We got some vent visors on here that are actually good. All the glass is in it. We got some really good tires on the back. The tires on the front are, ready to go away. But this project, what I want to do with this is I want to be as thrifty as possible while still doing something that is worthwhile, you know? I want to put an LS in this thing, put a new transmission in it. Now, of course, I'm 5'10", which is technically Mr. America. Average height, everybody, males is 5'10". This thing comes up to my nose. That needs to change. We need to alter the attitude on this thing. Look at how much wheel well that thing's got. We have got to be able to get that gap out of that wheel well. Find us some decent looking tires and wheels. And of course, what I want to do is I want to put cow tracks on there to help with wheel hop. I'm going to keep this thing air conditioned, fuel injected, all the works. So now when we say that we want this thing to be thrifty, I think the motor runs. You know, I'm in this thing for $500, right? So I think the motor runs. So if the motor runs, then what we're going to do is we're going to pull that motor. I don't know if anybody's putting 5.3s in or 4.3s back in these things, but I guess we'll see if somebody wants to buy the little 4.3 liter in it. So of course we're going to have to try to start it. I haven't heard this thing run yet. And funny thing about the chair, that orange chair, I'd bought a camper and that orange chair was in that camper. Buddy of mine, he was like, oh, you're a UT fan. And I'm like, nope, I'm just a fan of sitting my butt down. So speaking of sitting my butt down, let's do exactly that. Here in just a minute, we're going to go and put the jumper cables on this thing. I've got my big Ram parked out here. Got my jumper cables ready. We're going to see if we can't start this. So the reason that I want to go ahead and start this, first and foremost, I want a video of that motor running. That way when the potential buyer asks, does it run? Yes, it runs. Here is the vehicle. Here is my face. And here is the motor. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, this thing sat for, I guess, a year and a half. If you look at the expiration date on the plates, I didn't actually ask my buddy how long the thing had sat. So what I'm going to be doing, you know, this new ethanol-based fuel, this 10% fuel that we've got with the ethanol, it's hydroscopic. It actually likes to absorb moisture. So we're going to be checking a fuel pump. It sat for a while. This will be checking fuel pump wiring, relays, things like that. Make sure rodents haven't chewed them up. I know I've already looked under the hood. I found a few things that concern me, but where we're going, we won't worry about that. So Pardon the nasty garage behind me. I'd actually cleaned this thing out at one point and kept my Challenger in here. I had an SRT Challenger with the 392 and the 6-speed atomic orange. That thing was freaking sick, but I couldn't keep rats out of it because it had soybean-based wiring. So apparently, Dodge had set up a deal with the government that they could fudge their fuel mileage numbers if they used soy-based wiring. Well, if you're a rodent with a brain the size of, I don't know, maybe that big, soybean-based wires smell pretty good. So I had this really nice car and I couldn't keep rats out of it. When that happened, the garage kind of went away. But now, we're out here. We're going to make improvements. It's kind of like the fat shaming the guy that's at the gym. You don't do that. My garage is going to be cool, and you guys are going to be along for the ride. So let's go ahead and get this thing opened up. I've already popped the hood on it. And there we go. Get our prop rod. It's time for some booster cables. So I got some booster cables from AutoZone. These things are really long. They're heavy built. I bought them with my own money. It's not like this thing is any type of a paid endorsement. But man, look at those clamps. I've really enjoyed these. The only problem I had out of these is I had to warranty them one time. This little box just started beeping and it wouldn't stop beeping. And it's just really annoying. Boosting a car is not necessarily, well, depending on where it's at. Boosting a car can be stressful. And when you're adding a whole bunch of it just really sucked. So yeah, I did warranty these out. They had no problem. The Duralast warranty process was literally over the counter, done, walking out happy. So let's get these things hooked up. There's the first sign of life. We must have punched the hazards at some point. Let's turn those off. I got a door dinger. And the window rolls down. We got dash lights showing 213K on the Odo, but it's pretty solid. Oops. Needs more charging. So the old 6.4 liters running like a top. We need to get some electrons over there. We've got our booster cables hooked up. What do we got going on over here? Of course, we're showing 14.5 volts. So the first thing I'm seeing is we've got something that's unplugged. I can't tell where it goes, but we'll figure it out. We got a vacuum leak right here. That's been split for some time. It looks like it goes to something in the fender. We're gonna have to tear the whole front end off this thing to do the V8 swap. So we'll figure out what's in there and probably throw it away. I am betting that. So this is a factory air conditioning truck. This goes perfectly hand in hand what I want to do. So if I put me a 5.3 or 6.0 in here, we're gonna do air conditioning. So we've got some broken plastic here on the top, which, you know, the cool thing about it, Hooker Blackheart makes a clearancing panel here. So what we're gonna wind up doing is for our heater core and evap there, we're gonna put the Hooker Blackheart panel in there so that we'll get more room. So that'll get rid of some of that brittle plastic. This right here, I don't know if we can find a replacement. Yes, sir. She runs. Say, hot dog diggity dog.
Hot dog diggity dog.
All the times I've been in traffic court and people are like, the mat was on the gas, the mat was on the gas. Literally, I was trying to get out. The floor mat was pushing the throttle. So this is good. This thing runs nice. Somebody's done it looks like LED headlights. Well, now I've taken the battery cables off, so we must have a good alternator there. That's cool. That's all right. we'll let this thing run a little bit more. Sounding good, sounding good. I don't know about those LEDs. Yeah, looks like we've got LEDs in the low beams too. So I'm showing 40 pounds of oil pressure. We haven't got any heat in the motor yet. He said that the sending unit was bad in the gas tank, so I don't know how much fuel is in this thing. Alternator's charging. I believe we're doing all right. Power steering pump doesn't whine, so that's great, man. I'm in the truck for 500 bucks. So what I'm hoping is to be able to get as close to 500 out of that 4.3 as I can. Cut the catalytic converter out of this thing. Surely the catalytic converter will bring me at least a hundo. We'll see, man. I'm excited. So there we go. We go ahead and shut it off. We didn't quite get a chance to put a lot of juice in that battery, but that's not what we're worried about. But you can see here, we're going to need a new dash bezel. I've already found that. It's like $170 online. So that's one of those things after it runs. We've had the old stereo cut. They've cut the factory thing out of there. And of course, this thing had some speakers in it. Those speakers, let's go over here and look at them here in just a second. So yeah, as for getting my money back out of this thing had some door speakers. My son's car needed some speakers. I haven't had a chance to put these in yet, but that's going to save a few dollars. I don't know how much those scars are. We'll put the price on the screen. We'll deduct that from the 500 bucks. And of course, this thing did have some power wire for a stereo. And that power wire was actually it was zip tied down here onto the frame. And I decided that that didn't need to be like that anymore. So I wound up taking that stereo wire out of here, the RCAs and the power wire and all that. Went up taking all of that out and putting it in my son's car. And so I'll put a price here as to how much we've actually already recouped. But now I do have that door panel over there. The door panel's laying in the back. The cool thing about these Blazers is that they come with a storage box right there on the back. So while I'm doing my project, if I don't want it laying around in the garage, right there, I've got it really easy. So the way that this thing's setting in the garage, I want to change it around. I'm going to wind up taking this junk and clutter, throwing and or selling whatever I don't need, getting it out of the way, and I may try to orient this thing since it runs, move it over here if the transmission will allow. That way I can still pull things in the front door. So I have got a couple of things already. These are some energy suspension. These are for the Chevy clamshell motor mounts. These are already there. They're polyurethane, so it doesn't matter what shape that's in. That was a freebie that I already had laying around. Got a set of heads here. Those are some LS heads. The 241 castings, I don't know what I'll be able to do with those, if those have any relation to this. They've been sitting around here for a while. They've got no valves in them, no valve springs. Oh, no. Actually, I do have valve springs. They're in a bag over here. But I don't have valves. So I don't know what I'll be doing with those. Maybe we can sell those for a little bit of scratch to get the project going. So yes, now that we know it's running, we can tear the front end off of this thing. I'm going to take the fenders off, the hood, the grill, everything. Get everything out of the way. That way when I go in here, pull the motor, I got nothing in the way. I'm not harming any of my stuff. And then when I do that, I'm going to rebuild all the front end, do all new bushings, ball joints, all of that, lower it, and then we'll go around to the back. We'll rebuild all that, lower it, and of course, put the V8 in it. We're going to need a new rear end eventually. Don't want to be riding around in a one-wheel wonder with a weak rear end. So yes, I'm excited that the old girl runs. This thing's going to need some stuff. Of course, all of the old GMs, they need door bushings and things like that. So we're going to be doing all of the little things, fixing all of that stuff. Just doing it a little bit at a time. I'm going to keep all my receipts. I'm going to keep a running total on what I've got in the truck, what comes out off of the truck, all of that stuff. Hopefully I can find a decent donor vehicle. Maybe if I could find a decent donor vehicle for the LS and transmission, something that's possibly been hit in the rear, hit in the front, something that was running when it was wrecked. Maybe if I can find a donor vehicle, maybe then, let's say, I don't know, we give $1,200 or $2,000 for the donor vehicle, get the engine, transmission, computer, harness, and all of the stuff that we need, all of the accessory drives and all that, and then scrap the body. Maybe we'll get another $300-400 out of scrapping the body, the catalytic converter, the battery, selling the wheels and tires off of it. We're just going to be as resourceful as we can, and hopefully we come out with a really cool project. This thing is rust-free. Of course, I'm in the South, so we don't have to contend with a lot of rust. Rust-free, never been wrecked, all one color. It's not going to be hard to make a decent little vehicle in here. Of course, I've been watching Puddin's Fab Shop and a few of these other guys and really liking the whole garage kind of YouTube thing. So this is exciting to me. I really enjoy making content. I've been in the gun world for quite some time, and you know, just looking to get out and do some other stuff and scratch that mechanical itch. You know, when I was in high school, they wanted me to go for the universal path, and I'm just telling them, I'm like, hey, you know, I might test well, you know, for academics and stuff, but I'm mechanically minded. But for their own numbers, they wanted to push me forward into the universal path, the university path, or whatever they wanted to call it. And I didn't get to go to shop and stuff like that. So here I was working on stuff on my own, and I taught myself electronics and all sorts of stuff. And then when I went to college some years later, I waited until I was 26 to go back to school. So when I went to college some years later, they tested me and they said, wow, you have a high mechanical aptitude. And I'm like, yeah, probably. That's what I was trying to tell them in high school. So, you know, this is right down my alley, getting back out here, getting wrenching on stuff, because I really do miss all the stuff I was doing with HVAC, lots of electrical circuits and things like that. But, you know, I just got tired of chasing people for money. They always want you to fix it today, whether it's Saturday or on Thanksgiving or whatever. They want to pay you later. So I've kind of got out of that world, and now here this is going to fix my itch. So you guys stay tuned. There's going to be more. So yeah, I'm excited that it actually runs. Oh, let me turn my Mickey phone around. Don't want to make that excuse again. Got a dead cat microphone on this thing. It's directional. Boom.